Hi, so this is the Archer Challenger stove. It's a British made stove. We're very proud to be Archer dealers. So this is the Challenger 5 and we've got this on live display. I'm going to light this shortly. We also have the Challenger 5 convection system, so you can see that these panels here add a little bit more bulk to the stove and they encourage more heat to displace around the room, so they're quite good and quite effective for a larger room. So the two models are, we've got the Challenger and the Challenger Plus. I'm going to light the Challenger now. So we've got two controls at the bottom. So this is a multi-fuel stove. A multi-fuel stove has an ash pan and it has two controls. A wood burner generally has only one control. With a multi-fuel stove, we generally light it in the standard method, which is kindling, firelighters and a couple of logs. With a wood burner, as with my other videos, we generally light them with a top-down method. So I'm going to light this up now. So what we've got in here, just to explain, is we've got a good stack of kindling. Always use a decent amount of kindling. We've got some natural firelighters, which are what we tend to use, and these are widely available on Amazon and various other places. And we've got a couple of nice dry but small logs. So nothing any bigger than this sort of size here initially. So I'm going to get this going first, and then as it's lighting up, I'll just talk a little bit about the stove as we get the flame going there. And that's that. So we have the controls fully open to the left. Okay, this is called the primary control and this is called the secondary control. This must be closed when the stove is hot, and this is the control to control the stove itself. So this one allows air from up through the grate, and this one is bringing air through and past the glass and into the fire. It's very important that once the stove is hot, and this is when you're burning wood, that you close this control off completely. Otherwise you'll burn the fire too hot and you'll burn through logs too fast and you'll create too much heat. This one here, which I'll show you shortly, can go from right to left, and this controls the air that controls the temperature of the stove, and this sends air down past this bar and down past the glass and into the fire. So it's important that this isn't closed completely. As you'll see as I'm getting the fire going, we've got the door very slightly ajar. So with the Challenger, it can come with a silver handle or a black handle. We've got the black one, as you can see. We close the door, but not fully close it. So this is the door fully closed, and this is the door slightly ajar. What it enables us to do is when we get the fire going, it just enables us to leave the door very slightly ajar, but it won't swing open into the room. So it's really useful. You see that won't open at all there. And it gives us a little bit more air into the fire to get the fire up to temperature and get the fire burning. And then once the fire's established and you've got a little bit of heat coming through the glass, you can close the door. If at this point you get condensation building up on the glass or the fire goes out, just open it up a little bit. And that also goes for reloading as well. So when you reload the stove during the evening, you open the door and put a log on it, and if it just sort of struggles to get going, then just crack the door a little bit, just for a couple of minutes while the fire gets that extra bit of air into the fire, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to close that off now, and we've got, just to recap, we've got the secondary control, which is your main control, and we've got the primary control, which is the boost or the choke, which is fully open, and that's fully to the left. If I just demonstrate right now, if I close the primary off, and I also close the secondary off, you'll see that the fire will almost immediately start to die out, and you'll see condensation and smoke building up. So I'm going to open those back up again now. That also demonstrates how much control you've got on the fire. So just while this is getting up to temperature, just a little bit of housekeeping about the stove. So your best friend with one of these things is a standard microfiber cloth like so, and we just use that to, obviously not when it's hot usually, but just to wipe that down with a dry cloth. The glass on the Archers stays incredibly clean because they've been designed so well and built to a high standard. So the glass should stay clean, but in normal situations, if you do get the glass a little bit mucky, there's a little bit down the side here, you get a damp cloth, dab it in the ash and wipe it on the inside of the glass, and that will just bring off any of the residue. So that little residue down there, that'll be easily removed with a damp cloth. Dab it inside the ash, inside the fire, and then just wipe it off. The outside of the stove, nothing more than a dry cloth. Avoid putting water on it or any moisture on it. The other things that we also recommend to clean the stove on a day-to-day basis is like a Wonder Wipe, which are household wipes. They can remove any sort of fingerprints or any sort of stubborn marks that you get on the glass or on the stove, but always dry it. So first burn. So when you first buy the stove and you first get your fire going after the 24 hours after it's been lit, after it's been fitted rather, we want you to light a small fire, no logs, just kindling, and then just get used to the controls, get used to it, and then once it's gone out, you can light another fire, put some logs on it. Now the first fire, we've got to bear in mind, and it is explained on the instructions, which is around here somewhere, there we are. You will get an odour off the stove on the first fire, the first time you fire it up properly, and that is the paint that's curing on the stove, and that's a really important process to push through, get the fire nice and hot, get it out of the way, and then you're good to go for the future. It's not uncommon also when you've used it after for the first time after summer, you might get a little bit of a smell out of it. So push through that again, and it just pushes any of the dust and bits out of the way that build up on top of the stove. So as the fire's got going, I'm going to turn the primary air now off. As you can see, the logs are starting to burn. We've set the fire up in the kindling, the fire lighters, and the couple of logs at the top creates like a teepee. So it enables a lot of air to travel around the fire bed, and it just gets the fire burning really nicely. There's a couple of really important do's and don'ts that we tell people with all our stoves. The first thing is, when you open the door to put a log on, it is really important to open the door, let the fire catch up. You see that big roar now. Open the door, put your log on, and close the door straight away. Never open the door like that. You will allow smoke into the room. You are sitting over the fire, you're going to breathe it in, and you're going to make your paint go mucky in your room. So a really common thing that people experience with a wood burner, getting smoke in the room, really, really bad, very easily avoided by just opening the door nice and gradually. And also, when you do load the fire, don't let the fire still burn with lots of flames. Try and get some nice hot embers. Burn this fire out, get those logs turned into some nice hot embers. Ideally, you want to be loading the fire when there's less flames. Because if you've got flames, your logs are still burning, you don't need to keep loading it up. You're just going to burn the fire too hot and too intensely, and that can damage the fire bricks. So yeah, try and let it burn down to some nice hot orange embers, then open your door nice and gently, put the log on, close the door, and let it burn. And then if the log does struggle to take, just remember you can just crack the door a little bit. Controlling the stove. So now we've got the primary air off, which is our boost setting. You can now, if you want to control it a little bit, just turn the fire down a smidge, and you can see the control there is just almost instantaneous. It's absolutely lovely. So the ideal setting really for the stove is just slightly off middle. So this one is closed and this one is sort of a quarter open. That'll give you a really nice clean flame effect. If you find that the bricks or the glass starts going a little bit dirty, just turn it up a little bit to the left, and it'll just give you a little bit more of an intense burn. Just talk you briefly about the details that we've got here. So we've got the stovetop fan. This is not quite up to temperature yet, so it's not started turning round. They're effective in certain situations. If you've got a through room or an open plan living space, these are quite beneficial. In a standard living room with one door in and one door out, it will be too overpowering. I just wouldn't bother. Don't spend more than 40 quid. We're happy to sell you one, obviously. The thermometer here, these are quite a useful thing to have. They are indicative. They go on the flue pipe, it's just magnetic. And you can see the little red needle here is just telling you what temperature the flue's at. In an ideal world, we want to be having the needle sort of pointing towards the top end here. That means that you're burning it at the optimum temperature, and you're not burning it too cold, you're not burning it too hot. The last thing to bear in mind is when you finish using it at the end of the night, what a lot of people are tempted to do is shut the stove down and go to bed. Do not, under any circumstances, do that. Open the control up about an hour before going to bed and let the fire burn out nice and cleanly. Okay, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks very much.